Welcome to lecture 4 on module 3. In the previous lecture we discussed about styles of decision making and cognitive biases. Today we are going to discuss about barriers of effective decision making, and we'll start with ethics in decision making. Since individuals are engaged in decision making, we will also learn about ethical factors in making decisions and how the barriers constraining the decision making process, and then how to overcome the barriers in decision making. Let us get into the lecture. Okay, let us start with ethics behind decision making. There are certain ethical aspects of decision making which include what is ethics. Before we are talking about ethics behind the decision making, we need to understand what is ethics. And every one of us would have used the term ethics. So are we being very ethical in the way we look at the problem, the way we make our decisions? So let us understand ethics in a very simple way. Ethics are set of moral principles that guides a person's behavior. Okay, so it's generally a moral principles that guides a person's behavior. It is not only about the decision making; it will guide every behavior of an individual. Now, what are those? How these morals have been developed? So these morals are shaped by social norms, the which society we live in, and the cultural practices of the region or the country as a whole. Then religious influences which have role on individual decision making. So generally these morals principles are shaped by the social norms, the clan or the type of society you live in, and the cultural practices and the religious factors also will influence the moral principles, because that will drive or guide the individual's behavior. Now, so ethical decision making refers to a process of evaluating and choosing among alternatives in a manner consistent with ethical principle. Now we learned about ethics, and then we are also learning about ethical decision making. What is it, ethical decision making? Ethical decision making is nothing but the decision which you are arriving at is consistent with your ethical principles. It is not violating some of the ethical standards already set. So as long as your decision making is consistent or aligning with the ethical principles, then it is the ethical decision making. You are actually, when in due course of making the decision, you are also evaluating and choosing some of the best alternative that will not violate the moral standards or ethical standards. Okay, let's talk about some of the ethical decisions. Let's say you are working in an accounting firm. Imagine you are working in an accounting firm. You need to disclose your company's annual income, because based on your annual income or a profit, you need to pay certain taxes to the government, right? So now, how much of income you need to report? Are we going to report everything what is being accounted, or are you going to report something else, or keeping some information or the sale underplay some of the numbers, and then fudge some data so that you as a company you can pay less tax? That's where the ethical decision comes into picture. When you are actually fudge some data or do not disclose certain section of the sales, then you only undercode the numbers to for the tax saving, then you are actually engaging in an unethical decision making. As an individual, you are going against the moral principles. You need to be honest and fair, and you need to maintain your integrity especially in disclosing the income of a company. So now if you are making a decision something violating the certain norms, ethical standards, then that's an unethical decision making. So ethical decision making is always refers to a process of evaluating and choosing a best alternative which do not violate the general moral standards or the ethical principles. Now, in making ethical decision, it is necessary to perceive and eliminate unethical options and select the best ethical alternative. As is given an example now, the analogy I have given you, when you are making a decisions, you need to ensure that you are trying to eliminate the unethical actions. For example, let's say you wanted to set up a plant, and you are actually taking some lands, and it is for the development purpose. Okay, it is allowed. Okay, now when you're taking a land, and how much you're going to be ethically function? Are you going to impact the livelihood of the people, or are you going to also provide some livelihood option to the people? So you need to ensure that not exploiting the livelihood of the people. When you're taking away some lands, you're not taking any agricultural land, rather you are going and taking some barren land which is not used for any agricultural purpose, then you are actually, when you are making that decision to acquire a land to construct a plant, then you are leaving away the agricultural land and then taking only the barren land for building your construction or the plant. Then you are engaging in ethical actions, not in unethical actions. So avoiding the unethical actions, not taking in agricultural land, if you are avoiding the unethical actions, and ethical actions, you are selecting a land which is not actually impacting any of the agricultural activities. So you need to choose on the best alternatives to ensure that you are not engaging in any unethical actions. This is what the ethical decision making is. In a very simple way, you need to avoid unethical actions. Whatever the decision you do, it has to go in alignment with the moral standards or the ethical principles. Fine. Now, when you are talking about an ethical decision, so generally there are some criterias which will drive in making ethical decisions or ethical choices. We will see what are those criteria. There are three criteria in making ethical choices. First is the utilitarian criterion, in which decisions are made solely on the basis of their outcomes or the consequences. The goal of utilitarian principle is nothing, it is provide the greatest good for the greatest number, providing the large benefit to the largest section of the number. So this view tends to dominate most of the business decisions making. It is consistent with efficiency, productivity and high profits. So first principle is utilitarian. Utilitarian talks about provide the greatest good to the greatest numbers. So if you are able to provide the largest good to the largest section of the people, then you are able to make an ethical decision. You are providing the better services to a large section of the people, you are providing the greatest good to the greatest numbers, then that is the first criteria to do an ethical choice or ethical decisions. Then second is to focus on rights. So these rights in decision making means respecting and protecting the basic rights of individuals. Okay, so then right to privacy, freedom of speech and the due process. You're not actually avoiding or let's say discriminating people, exploiting the people rights, violating their rights. Then you're not providing the freedom of speech or the negotiations or discussions. For example, if you wanted to make a decisions, you need to provide enough chances to all the stakeholders to participate, hear their views, so that nobody is feeling that they are not considered when you are made decisions. So in the ethical decision making, it's the second criteria. They talks about the rights of individuals. You are not violating any of the basic rights of the individuals, and you are also providing right to privacy, freedom of speech, and then you are also following a due process in making a decision. Then third criterion is to focus on justice. So this requires individual to impose and enforce rules fairly and impartially. There is no discriminations. You are providing a fair treatment so that there is an equitable distribution of benefits and cost is provided to every party in the discussions or every stakeholders in a business. Okay, so there is no impartiality, and you are trying to play a fairness in terms of conducting the business, in terms of making your decisions, so that there is an equitable distribution of benefits and costs to all stakeholders in a business. So generally this ethical decision making has been driven by three criteria. One is utilitarian, is nothing but providing greatest goods for the greatest number. Second is right. Third is focusing on the justice. Okay, yeah. Now we will come and see the barriers in decision making. So what are those barriers in decision making? Okay, let us see one by one. Time consuming. Sometimes individual decisions take a lot of time, because manager will study the merits and demerits of all alternatives, right? See, for example, as we said, the decision making always starts with the formulating a problem, then identifying what are the causes of the problem, then we are making alternate course of actions to deal with a particular problem or an opportunity. Now when you are coming up with an alternatives, so every individuals or the managers, they take their own time to list down what are the merits of option A, what are the demerits of option A, similarly option B, C, D. Then if you have A, B, C, D, and individual will go see merits and demerits of option A, merits and demerits of option B, merits and demerits of option C, and so on, right? So this process actually taking a lot of time. It's a time consuming process. Then after making all these merits and demerits of all possible alternates, then you will choose a best out of these alternatives. So it's a time consuming process. That is one of the barrier. So now with the changing world, with a lot of advancement in technology, with the rapidity and volatility in the business, you need to make some quick decision. Agile decision making is also important. How flexible, how quickly you can make decisions. So that's why time consumption is also become a barrier in decision making. Second, compromise decisions. So compromise decision is made to please all the members. For example, you're running a business and then you have multiple stakeholders in your business. You have to make everybody happy. It is very difficult to come to a decision which will make every section of the society or every stakeholders in a company be happy. So if you are trying to make everybody happy or satisfied with whatever the decision you make, you may not be correct, or you may not make any bold decision. The quality of decision is inferior, because either it will not suffice or support the complete needs of one particular stakeholder or nor the other stakeholders. So it will not happen. It is kind of a fragile one. It will not even support or be very effective in at least to cater to specific needs of the at least one stakeholders. It is like nobody is getting benefit out of the decisions. So everybody is getting some piece of it. Some piece means is not going to feed you, right? It is not going to take away your hunger. So at least provide a full section to one particular stakeholder, so that at least that person is happy. So the decision has to be very bold. Compromising on all stakeholders is where this decision is very inferior decisions. Okay, then subjective decision. See, the decision making is often subjective. Depends on the knowledge of the decision maker, education level, experience, perceptions, beliefs, moral attitude of a manager, right? So the subjective decisions are not good decisions. We are talking about decision making models in the previous lecture. We talked about how good you can collect a lot more possible information when you are trying to understand the problem, so that you are comprehensively able to take a decision which will address the causes of the problems, rather than only having a limited information, right? The subjective knowledge, if it is based on the limitation of the individuals, if you are taking a decision, that decision is will be again an inferior decision. It may not be as good as another decision where we are collectively following certain model and then trying to collect all possible information in making a decision. So subjective decision will have certain limitations, because manager would have not exposed to particular set of a decision making scenario earlier. So that will also cause the kind of decision you make. Then biased decisions. So the last lecture we discussed about a lot of biases, right? Cognitive, prior hypothesis bias, illusion of control. We discussed about a lot of biases also. Reasoning by analogy, and so many biases. Sometimes decisions are biased. That is, the manager makes decision which is only beneficial for himself or his group. So maybe you will make a decision only to benefit a certain section of the company, not benefit to everybody in the company. So then it is only a biased decision to support only subgroup of the company. So what will happen? It will actually divide the companies into multiple subgroups, and there will be rebellious activities going on, and then somebody will be unhappy about the decisions. That will actually bring down the motivation and morale in the company, and it is going to, on the whole, it is going to spoil the company's culture and then the profitability and the growth of the company also. So it will have a bad effect on workers and the consumers and the society as a whole. So the biased decision has to be corrected. Okay, yeah, fine. Going on, we will see limiter analysis. See, when you're making a decision making, it is very important that you are going for a comprehensive knowledge of trying to analyze all possible ways, kind of a 360-degree view, rather than limiting yourself to only certain sections of the information, or limiting yourself to only one point of the information. So limiter analysis, before making any decision, manager must analyze all alternatives, not only take one or two, and it's kind of satisfying decision, as I discussed in the first lectures. Because I as a manager, I have limitations. I will take only two alternatives and see which alternatives actually supports me or serves my purpose. I don't worry about what the other alternatives are. So then you do only limiter analysis, because you want a solution which actually serves your purpose or the goals, not the complete organizational needs or demands, right? So he must study all merits and demerits of each alternatives. But though it is time consuming, but it is very important that you study rather than having a limiter analysis. Then uncontrollable environmental factors. So in certain portions where the manager has no control over external factors. Let me give you an example. Let's say I wanted to make some decision about my procurement policy. Let's say all of a sudden government has come up with certain legislations or an act says restricting certain activities, restricting certain materials because it is causing environmental degradations, or let's say placing some bar on you exporting from certain countries. Then this kind of policies or the government decisions where manager has no control over it. Let's say I order from a particular country, but all of a sudden my government of India says that no, you cannot source any material from this country owing to many other differences between the countries. Imagine that way. Then what is happening? You do not, as a manager, you plan to procure because you are getting a competitive advantage of getting it at a lower price or the better quality. But now with this policy in place where you were actually started the way how to run the business, but this who as a manager you do not have control over these external factors. Okay, these factors change in wrong direction, his decision will also divert and go wrong. Because let's say I made a decision to source from particular country. Now my government regulation is that I cannot source. Now what will happen? I need to quickly buy something so that I need to continue to do my business. So instead I make a wrong decisions, go make some blundered creating a poor quality products. Then my customers are really unhappy, and then it is impacting my whole business, right? The whole chain of my business is impacted. Fine. Okay, now let us try to understand other barriers in decision making. Uncertain futures. See, as we are talking about maybe we started from the course, we are all studying about the uncertainties in the business, right? So the decision made for the future. So the future, but the predictability of the future is always uncertain. Uncertainty in the business is very common and change is very permanent. So the future is very uncertain. So how are we going to estimate the future? So therefore it is very difficult to take decision for the future, and because most of the time we make decisions with an estimation of the likely outcome of the future, but though the uncertainties are really high, it is very difficult to take decision for the future considering the limitations of the uncertainty. Okay, then responsibility is diluted. That is, everybody's responsibility is nobody's responsibility. Okay, so the responsibility is diluted. When the responsibility is diluted, it is very difficult. For this reason, sometimes decision making loses its importance. Even it becomes impossible to achieve the organization goals. For these reasons, at the time of decision making, manager should be aware about limitations. Okay, who has to be given responsibility and who has to take the responsibility? Because when let's say if everybody feels that okay, some of them will take a responsibility, it's like feeling that he will do, he or she will do, it is okay, I can be in the group. Let's say it generally happens in a group, right? When one goal or a target is given in a group, the group members are under the assumption that okay, he or she will do, and then other person will think he or she will do. We can just be a free rider, collectively somehow the group will do. So when everybody's responsibility is nobody's responsibility. So when a responsibility is diluted, nobody is given a defined terms of what has to be done by whom, then it is become decision making becomes a hassy, and then it becomes very difficult for a company to survive. Okay, now we have understood some of the barriers of decision making. Now how to overcome the barriers of decision making? So it is generally assumed that when there is a barrier, there is always some way out, right? So let us try to understand how to handle these barriers. We talked about a lot of barriers in decision making, right? So how do we handle it? We will see few methods suggested to handle the barriers in decision making. One first option is two-way options. So what is this two-way options? In some cases it is known that toss the coin. So what will happen in the toss the coin? Either you will get head or tail, right? Similarly, if toss the coin means you either you decide or you do not decide. You do not decide. Let's say you have all alternatives, you choose okay, which alternative choose, whether to choose this or not. Toss the coin and say okay, we will choose this alternative, that alternative, and other alternative course of actions are ignored. Okay, so as a group you will decide, you would have already studied, let's say all merits and demerits are discussed, and then all of them are equally competent decisions. So what do I do? Which one I choose? Weighing, decision criteria, all we have done. Now we are arrived at all alternatives of 80. Now what should I do? So in that typical situation, people can go for two-way options. Toss the coin, make one decision and rest is on shelf. And then reporting card method. In this method, number of criteria and gradation are developed as per the choice of numbering from 1 to 10 and so on. For example, now decision criteria, you make a decision criteria and you give some weightage to the decision criteria, and then based on the weightage given to each criteria you formulate numbers and then you prioritize, you create an order. Okay, highest total is the option of decision making. So let's say now I make 5 criteria to make a decision. Let's say 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, first factor is and let's go back to the earlier decision. In the previous lectures I have discussed about buying a car is a decision making. Now let's say now price is one factor, then fuel efficiency is second factor, style is third factor, let's say brand is the fourth factor. I am taking 4 factors. Now price, I am a conservative person. Let's say I do not have much money, so I am retired employee, then I need to buy a car, so my weightage will be more on the price. The cheaper the price, higher likelihood that I will make a decision. Now I give lot of weightage on the option A, which is the decision criteria A, the price, I give 0.5, let's say. Then fuel efficiency, let's say 0.2, then brand 0.1, then another one is the style, it's 0.2. Let's say cumulatively I collected I collected 5 different cars, so based on this weight criteria I will collect and then summate the scores of each of this, and then I will rank it, prioritize, I will make this ranking order 1 2 3 4 5. Now based on which one has the highest score, I will take that as my decision. So that is a ranking card method. It's very simple. You give the criteria, decision criteria, give the weightage and cumulatively collect the score for each of these decisions you are making. Then whichever is having a highest score, that will be taken as rank 1, rank 2, rank 3, rank 4, rank 5. Then rank 1 will be my obvious decision. Then if I am disregarding the rank 1, then I will move on to rank 2. So that is the ranking reporting card method. Okay, then listing method. So it is done by managers on reviewing the problem through moving forward from one to another and listing them. So as per the needs of the organizations, manager may locate the alternative and decide. Okay, so generally managers will review the problem through moving forward from one to another. So they say there are so many problems, they list down the problem and say which problem has to be addressed, or now which has to be addressed first, and then they will also look at the alternatives to choose, and these are the possible ways to overcome the barriers. Now let's say we are also talked about some biases, right? So how do we address, there are beyond these 3 methods there is also some other methods. Let me discuss. See what will happen, there is another approach called devil's advocacy. Devil's advocacy is nothing but generation of both the plan and critically analyze the plans by devil's advocate. Like say I say this is the benefit of the particular decision or an alternative. What will happen in the time? So I will have a person who will play a devil's advocate role, who will question the decision, who will question this alternative or the solution proposed, and then you will try to understand, critically analyze and question whatever the way I say. So this is one of the ways that you can also come out of the biases. Whatever the decision I propose, whatever the solution I propose, one person will be purposefully playing a role of devil's advocate, who will question the solutions or decision being suggested. Okay, that is one way to come out of the biases. Also we are talking about the barriers in decision making. It is also important to learn about the how to come out of the bias in decision making. Then there is a dialectic inquiry. See, the generation of a plan, when you are making a plan, it can have a thesis and an antithesis. You create a plan and a counter plan, okay, that reflects the plausible and by conflicting course of action. So let's say I go in direction X, then you also create another one is a direction Y. There is a counter plan. There is a plan and then there is a counter plan. You discuss about the conflicting things about these two things, and then out of this then you will say you will be able to make a better decision, right? So this is exactly opposite to each other. I say this is a way you approach. Let's say one is conservative, one is aggressive. Let's take this two is a classical example of talking about the dialectic inquiry. So let's say as a company I can take a conservative approach or I can take an aggressive approach. So conservative approach is being very reserved, very conservative. I do not invest so much. I don't want to make a risk of getting into a new product or new service, just investing a new plant or whatever it is. Being a conservative approach. Then aggressive approach is I wanted to be very aggressive in the way I do my business. I wanted to create as many businesses as possible, increase, invest, and launch so many new products. That's an aggressive approach. Now this is actually, if you look at it, it's all both, exactly contrasting to each other, conflicting with each other. Then based on that, you will be able to make a decision. Then another one is an outside view. Outside view is this is very interesting one. What is this outside view? Is nothing but let's say if you're experiencing as a company or as an individual, you are experiencing a problem. Now this problem, is it very unique? First you need to understand. If this is not unique, that this problem has already existed to some other company or some other individual, then what is the best way to do is, okay, now this problem is not unique. Then you have seen that certain let's say some company has already experienced this problem. Now I go and understand, let's say I've created 3 alternatives to handle this particular problem. Now I go and see how that particular company handled the particular problem, or the alternatives. Out of these alternatives, how the outsiders have used, how outsiders have approached to this problem in addressing the particular problem, in terms of generating solutions to handle this particular problem. So that is an outside view. So this will also one way to come out of the biases in your decision making, because when you are when the decision is made by you, and then you will associate too much with your opinions or the decisions, you will try to take pride on the decision. When you are taking away from the decision making and you are trying to see the outside view, you will be able to make a better decisions. Okay, so these are the possible ways within which you can handle the barriers in decision making and biases in decision making. Okay, so these are the references, and today we discussed about ethical decision making. So ethical decision making, we said is nothing but process of evaluating, making decision which in alignment with the ethical standards and moral principles of the society. Then you do not actually make any decision which are violating the ethical choices. And you are trying to make an ethical decision. When you are making an ethical decision, you are also trying to avoid unethical actions on any of the things you are trying to do. And now what are the 3 criteria which are actually influencing your ethical decision? One is utilitarianism, which is nothing but greatest good for the greatest numbers. And then you are trying to ensure that the rights of the individuals are not violated, and you are given rights to privacy, and and then right to justice. There is fairness provided, and there is an impartiality, no discrimination in terms of handling people. So these criteria will influence the ethical decision making. And we also discussed about the barriers in decision making. We have talked about limited analysis, time constraints, individual involvement in making the decisions. So we are all discussed about a lot of the barriers, and then we also discussed about the ways in which we will be able to overcome the barriers in decision making. And I also discussed about some of the ways in which you can also handle the cognitive biases in decision making. As one example being a devil's advocate, whatever the solution one propose, you question it critically, so that now you will be able to understand the benefit and the cost of the decision making. Then as I said, taking an outside view, go out from your organization. Let's say how the particular organization who have experienced a similar problem handle the problem. Okay, how does that alternative solution work really? In case some alternate solution proposed by the company which is failed, that has different implications on the company growth, then it is better that you also do not take the particular decision, because you don't need to test it again and to see that your company also going to have the same impact or not. It is better to refrain from this particular decision. The outside view is important. Go understand whether the similar decision is better or not. Okay, these are the possible ways to handle the barriers and the cognitive biases in decision making. Thank you.